Hi, welcome to a Wootzor Top 10. Today we're going to be discussing our top 10 favorite cartoons. Before we begin, I'd like to discuss a few of the rules that we use. We've researched our lists heavily. In some cases, we may have over-researched. Discussion's going to be off the cuff. We're going to explain our choice. Others will have a chance to, say, okay, add items in. You are allowed to ask questions of each other of their choices. It's a one show per franchise, generally rule, so you can't have two versions of the Transformers on your list. Cartoons only, no Power Rangers, Double Dare, kids shows, and it's cartoon series only. Anime does count as cartoons, and we're ready to begin.
Yeah. And just introductions.
Mikey Gross.
Shawn Sparks.
And I'm Boyce.
Yeah, okay.
Number 10.
So who's up first?
You are, Shawn.
I am up first. Oh boy. All right. My number 10 goes back. Well, first of all, I guess I should explain that, I'm about a half a generation, older than you guys. So when I was younger, there was no cable, so there was no Cartoon Network, Boomerang. None of that existed. I mean, cable was just kind of coming in. So
probably not even like the after-school cartoons. It was just all
there were some. There were some after school, some before school, but it was like, we're talking Woody Woodpecker type stuff.
Oh.
Those type, which there's nothing wrong with Woody Woodpecker. So most of my stuff is Saturday morning from when I'm younger. I also have some on my list from when I'm, the age that I am now. But my number one would be from my younger days, would be the...
Number 10?
Number 10, yes, would be the 1973 to 1986 version of Super Friends.
Yes.
I don't consider myself a huge superhero fan, but I always loved that cartoon. Lex Luthor, was it Luthor or whatever?
Yeah.
I always want to say Luger, the wrestler. But and it just that made me probably what little bit I do like superheroes probably relates back to that cartoon. Ted Knight doing the voiceovers and all that. So that'd be my number 10.
Okay. My number 10. Before I begin, I was born in early '80s, so my large cartoon influences were in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, some 70s. I like to group things more by genre, show types. You'll see some exclusions or some odd things on my list just because I was choosing it because it was maybe a style of cartoon, included like an entire franchise or production company. So starting with number 10, we've got the 2009 series Archer. It's on FX. And it's absolutely hilarious. It basically H. John Benjamin voices Sterling Archer, Agent Duchess, works for the ISIS agency, and it is he's the world's greatest super agent in his head. The agency's a joke. He's really good at what he does, but it's drinking and sleeping with women, and sometimes agenting. Plus,
spoilers.
Spoilers. And they think he's mildly autistic because he can tell you the count of the number of bullets fired from any gun at any time. And he can tell you the model of gun, you're out of ammo. What? Because he counted. You fired 11 shots with one in the chamber. And then, it's the whole shtick where, they're out of ammo. There's the show, it lives on the callback. It's not a show so much that you would want to just start anywhere and watch, because a lot of it's kind of a flowing story. I really like that because it's not each thing is its own mission or something like that. Some of the jokes they do are callbacks. Kenny Loggins' The Danger Zone, for instance, is one of the best jokes in the series. Or if anybody has food and they spill it, there's this joke about, and this is how you get ants! It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it's a great series. My focus on cartoons and such run from when I was a kid in the 80s. That we had this stuff in the 70s, all the way through as an adult now. So a lot of my list was done in a bracket style where it wasn't so much the genre, but like the time frames of when things came out. So you'll see stuff from like the 80s and the 90s and so on and so forth. So there won't be as much redundancy, but there is still a theme of what I like, and that's going to be quite apparent. So starting with that, we're going to go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the version I like the most of that is the 2003 version, which is a darker, it's slightly more edgy than the original 80s one, which was real kind of campy, and the production values were hit and miss on it, and it was really, really kid-driven in the other one, where the 2003 one was much closer to the source material that I prefer, which is the original live-action movie that was based on the comics that came out. So it's not as violent and stuff as the comics, so it matches more with that, and I really prefer that version of the Turtles.
Now, I've seen the original version, the original cartoon. I don't think I've seen the 2003. Was that digital or was that cartoon? Actually?
It wasn't digital like the 2004 movie was, where it was like that. It is drawn, but it's not hand drawn.
Okay, computer generated.
Yeah, but it's not computer generated, but it's not it's not every hand.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it, but it's not digital.
Okay.
Well, there you go. That's number 10.
Number 9.
Number 9, going along with my thing about having shows from the same era, I really loved like the action cartoons that came out in the 90s. Okay, there was a lot of ones that I really loved. They just couldn't make the list because you only got 10 slots. So the one I went with was Gargoyles. It ran for 3 seasons in the late 90s, 94 to 97, I believe, and it was really well done. And it was a different take on things. I mean, they brought these ancient gargoyles from like ancient Scotland and brought them to the modern day, and they're still kind of battling the foes that they've had to do because it was this whole time shift. And it's really great, and they've continued on in comic books much later on to actually complete the series.
Wow.
So it wasn't so many of these shows in the 90s kind of were like 1 or 2 seasons, and you're like, man, this is really good, and then it was gone. So
I actually have seen that cartoon.
Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, David Keith or Keith David, whatever he is, whatever his name is.
So Star Trek. Oh,
yeah, no, but the show was amazing. I completely agree with you. I loved it.
Okay.
It was just the theme.
I think your guys' lists are going to reflect each other a lot.
Yeah, my guess is we're going to have about 3 or so choices that are the same.
And that's what we liked, is that neither one of us showed each other our lists to kind of get that reaction. But I think I'm most interested in your list because of that gap between like what you've seen and what you may or not like versus because we were kids during a lot of this stuff when
the cartoon explosion.
Yeah, and so we'd like to see where it goes.
Yeah, because I personally
we don't know any of our lists.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I could probably make a top 75 and still exclude about 50 or 60.
I don't think I could come up with 75 cartoons.
So my number 9, I don't have the year on this one, but it's by Warner Brothers. It is Animaniacs. This show single-handedly excluded Freakazoid, Tiny Toons, just that whole genre of the wacky, fun, energetic, off-the-wall kids show. It had tons of adult innuendo. You could watch this show as an adult and go back and just be rolling.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and watching that show, and they're like, I don't understand this joke, and I bet now if I'd gone and watched it again, I'd be like, well, that's funny. Like, I knew it was funny because of the timing of the joke, but why escaped me at times.
Hello, nurse. I mean, it made you feel good to watch a cartoon. Yeah. And that the whole genre did, but that show specifically. And it spawned Freakazoid. I think Pinky and the Brain was a part of it as well.
Well, they were a big part of it.
I do know all those.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it a lot.
So, I mean, Pinky and the Brain could have been this top choice, but I mean, Animaniacs was the container for it.
Maybe it'll get an honorable mention at the end.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. Probably not.
All
right. Is it me, number 9?
Yep.
Number 9 for me. Now, this is a little bit before my time, but it was in, what do they call that, where they run, what do they call that?
Syndication?
Syndication, yeah. It's 1962, The Jetsons.
Yes.
I love The Jetsons. I could still watch The Jetsons today.
Yep.
If it was on, I would probably stop and watch it. I don't know if you guys know this, but The Jetsons was actually a primetime sitcom. It was not a Saturday morning cartoon.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it came on like at 8 o'clock in the 60s. It was a regularly running TV series. And I think I kind of got it. My mom, that's her favorite, one of her favorite shows. So she watched it a lot, so I watched it a lot. But yeah,
it's good when you got something on your list, something that you and your family, that's why it's on your list.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Not because of, production values or storyline, just because you remember the good times with your family in that show. That's great.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the Jetsons doorbell chime is one of my ringtones.
Oh, so. Yeah. Well, everybody likes the Jetsons, something about them. So. That's my number 9.
Okay.
Numero ocho.
All right, so we're going to go straight into my number 8 now.
Yeah.
So my number 8, which is odd, following right up with the Jetsons, is the 1960 cartoon, The Flintstones.
Yes.
I love the Flintstones. I love Barney Rubble. I actually like Barney Rubble better than I like Fred, which is weird.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, you know, but that's a total rip-off, and everybody knows this nowadays, of the Honeymooners,
Okay.
which was made in the 50s and, 60 on the Flintstones. Now, like I said about the Jetsons, likewise, the Flintstones was originally a primetime sitcom. Yeah, originally. And I think, who did that? Hanna-Barbera? They did both the Jetsons and...
Yeah, they had a real good run of shows then.
They did, yeah. And those were, I think, your first two... The Jetsons and the Flintstones were your first two primetime sitcom cartoon series. So, yeah, it would be the Flintstones. Just good. I like it. I like the Honeymooners, so it was easy to like,
Yeah.
like that. So.
The Flintstones had some pretty good spin-offs. Flintstone Kids, Flintstone Vitamins, Hanna-Barbera Land at Kings Island.
I do like the vitamins.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. But I did love the Flintstones. And then the later seasons where everybody's a little older and...
Right.
Yeah. All right, boys.
Well, I'm going to follow Sean's up with another wholesome family show, and that was Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
Right. Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it was a very well drawn show because it's based on the Spawn comic books, which were really high quality. It kept, once again, one of my major themes is I love source material when it's redone and things, and this did a really good job of following that because he was really included in it. It dealt with like the sex and the violence and the heartbreak, and all the it's because the whole series is the careful what you wish for, And they did a really good job. It only had a 3-season run, because it probably was a little bit before its time in that kind of aspect.
Yeah.
That if it maybe had come out later on when with this big like anime like thing that they got going on with everything, and people were more adapted to sitting and watching animated shows in an adult capacity, it's great. One of the better parts is that it didn't cost $3 million to animate the cloak and that like it did Escape in the movies. So I think it's great, and that's why I wanted to have it on my list.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't think I've seen it, but yeah.
Oh, it is a phenomenal series.
Okay.
It really deals with adult subjects very well. And the whole heaven, hell, good, evil mix, where it introduces that maybe the hero doesn't have to be the good guy.
Well, I am familiar with McFarlane.
Yeah.
So, but not specific. I know the Spawn name, but I've not seen the cartoon.
Right. My number 8, going on the more adult animation, comes out of Japan. Year 2000, it was played on the Toonami Cartoon Network, and it is Gundam Wing. While it not being my favorite Gundam series, it was the first one. It was like the first one of the first animated shows that drew me into the story. It wasn't, yes, it's giant robots fighting, but it's the political intrigue, the portrayal of warfare, the portrayal of the main characters are teenagers, but they're not the happy-go-lucky teenagers you see in other cartoons. The main character, Hiro Yui, he's gonna kill a girl just because she saw something she didn't need to see.
Oh, wow.
I mean, when that show came out, when they launched it on Toonami, we watched the episode when it premiered on Prime. It's like 5 o'clock, 5:30.
Yeah.
And we sat at the person's house we watched it at until 10 p.m. when they reran it because we were that enthralled by the show.
Wow.
We had never seen anything that dealt with that kind of subject matter in that kind of way in an animated show.
Yeah.
And it was just. It's great.
It opened the door really for a lot of more Gundam series. I think Gundam 00 is a better story overall. Like Gundam Wing did it first. Gundam Wing was, it's your first love, your first car. You have that special thing in your heart for it. So
I've never heard of it at all, but obviously it's part of the anime stuff, I assume. I thought you were going to say something like Dragon Ball Z or Yu-Gi-Oh or something. But yeah, I know anime is hugely popular. I've never heard of that at all, though. Sorry.
that's fine. No, it's fine. It's
on your
appreciated.
list.
Yeah, not my list.
All right. You'll have to watch it now.
I will.
Number 7.
Comes from Cartoon Network, aired in 1994. It was computer generated way ahead of its time.
Wow.
It's called Reboot.
I
How
come
they
from the
forget
land.
reboot.
Again, I've never heard of it.
Cities.
Okay.
So basically, it takes place in called Mainframe, which is the world inside of the computer. So think of all the computer terms, computer terminology that have been used.
It's just like Tron.
Kind of, it's animated where you have a guardian who's
Okay.
protecting mainframe. Every time the user goes and plays a game, it sections off part of mainframe that the guardian has to win the game, or parts of mainframe
Okay.
are deleted.
Okay.
You know, you lose enough, mainframe crashes.
Okay.
So all those
And these are
kind-
characters.
they're characters in the show. Bob is a guardian. He's a humanoid looking.
But mainframe is a character?
Mainframe is a place
Okay.
It's like a city
within the computer.
Okay.
You know.
This is very educational.
Yeah. Every episode in the first couple of seasons were a self-contained story, a game, or they had to beat one of the viruses who are also characters.
Right.
And then at the end of season 3, it hit this massive climax where the story just changed, where it evolved into something better. It's like they upgraded, to use the pun. And then season 4, it took years for us to see season 4 because Cartoon Network wasn't airing it.
Oh.
It was the most frustrating thing ever. It's like it became you Walking Dead and Game of Thrones fans out there waiting for your next season.
Yeah.
Try waiting years for that last season after the climax. Your heart breaks because it's like, what is going to happen? That show taught me about the cliffhanger. And whoever invented the cliffhanger can die in a fire. So that's my number 7.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll
Shawn?
see you on next. Yeah. My number 7, and it's interesting you went Cartoon Network, because this would be my first Cartoon Network entry as an adult.
Yeah.
And that would, I don't know the year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was late 90s.
Yeah.
But I'm not positive. But that would be Johnny Bravo. Love Johnny Bravo. And I would have never even knew it existed if my son didn't watch. But yeah, the whole Elvis, hey man, all that. I loved it.
Yeah.
Don't know much about it. I don't know any of the character voices who did them. But,
Yeah.
I would watch Johnny Bravo today if I was passing by it. I loved it.
Well,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's still on Netflix too.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, because they put like a whole bunch of those old cartoons from Cartoon Network on there.
No, okay.
So it's probably on there if you want to sit down and.
Well, I might do that. Okay. That's my number 7, yeah.
All right. Number 7.
And then my number 7, mentioning the anime and stuff like that, is Dragon Ball Z. Now, I know DBZ gets a lot of hate, anymore, because it has a lot of flaws, okay? It's got a really long runtime, like 280 episodes to sit through, and things drag on. It takes too long to accomplish things in the show. They kind of fixed that with like the remake when they did Kai and stuff like that. But I think that as an American in that age bracket, when DBZ came out, you would watch. You get to watch so much of it. You get to watch them up to fighting like Vegeta, and then they just start it over, and you watch it again, and you just keep waiting, and then you had to get to when they got the Namek, and then Frieza would show up, and then you have to wait and watch the whole thing over again. And people didn't care; they just kept watching it over and over again. And I don't think that anime would be what it is in America right now without Dragon Ball Z. So it gets the nod over shows like Gun Wing and a lot of other ones that are that are a lot better. Because Gun Wing came on right around the time that they aired that. And then there's so many ones that are a lot better anime than that, but I think that what it brought deserves its spot on the list.
It was, I am familiar with it. I have seen a lot of episodes of it, mainly because of my son, but I think it did. I think it would probably, wouldn't you consider that maybe to be the first really big anime series that was extremely popular?
Right, yeah, that's why I had to put it on the list because of when it struck. There's other one. I mean, Speed Racer was from like the 60s, and that was an anime, and there's other ones that are on there, but I just think that it struck at the right time because you had the internet, people could talk about it, and people could want it goes on. You could go on and you could download Japanese fan sub versions, just so that you could get through it and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But it's not the greatest anime of all time, but I think that for a top 10 of this nature, I think it really deserves to be on there.
Okay.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, to the point today, Cartoon Network was airing episodes of DBZ before One Piece a few years ago, and DBZ was getting higher ratings.
Oh, okay.
And One Piece is usually considered by aficionados the better series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that's how well revered that show is.
Cool.
Number 6.
Well, to go along with one that barely made Mike's list, I'm going to go with Archer, which did beat out C-Lab for the humor because it's the same same people involved with C-Lab, the people that did Archer. I think that that computer generated style animation they use makes it look really clean and really good, and they can produce stuff really quickly, that kind of stuff. I have a bit of a soft spot because one of the blogs I read, one of the artists that left there went to go to help draw for Archer. Mm-hmm. So that's always going to have a place. But I do think it's a hilarious show, and the comedy has some depth to it, and it does have some jokes that you're kind of like, I don't know what they're talking about. You look it up. You got to kind of like research kind of why it's funny. They make like worldly references and things like that you may not be aware of. I think it just has depth to the humor, but the majority of the humor is for a 15-year-old male, which I loved being.
Yes.
So do you think it's more of an adult? It is more of an adult series, though, right?
Oh, it is not for children.
Right.
Rated TVMA.
Yeah, it's definitely not for children, but my list...
So I need to catch up on this series.
Yes.
I think that you won't regret the time that you put into watching it.
Okay.
The first time that Archer calls someone some name obscure, and then he has to explain why he called him that.
Yeah.
It could be a situation where they're in the middle of the jungle and the radio's not working, and then he says, "Hello, Thomas Edison," or "Hello, someone," and it's like, and they look at him like, he's like, "Inventor of the radio. Come on, I thought you knew."
No.
It's just every bit of the comedy is amazing.
Oh, okay.
Yep. My number 6, 1992 X-Men, the animated series. From the opening of the cartoon, the X-Men are in an epic battle with the Brotherhood of Mutants. That heavy 90s rock blaring in the background. You can hear it in your head right now, can't you? The first time I got to see this cartoon, because it had massive production problems at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out in 93, and then Fox kind of held off on it because the production was so terrible. It's Fox. Was from Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut was offering this deal with, you get a pizza, you can buy a VHS before the show aired.
Right.
So I got to watch the first 3 or 4 episodes before the show was on TV.
Which probably got watched like 100 times.
It did, yeah. Buy a pizza, get a VHS. It follows the X-Men through a lot of the major comic book storylines. Dark Phoenix, Days of Future Past, Legacy Virus,
It really brought a lot of that stuff to the forefront. That, the nice thing is that they using those storylines got people to want to read those comic books. Mm-hmm. So, it was successful, besides just selling toys and stuff, that it got people back into the source material.
Yeah.
And they did a pretty bang-up job of bringing up some of those, creme de la creme story arcs that they used.
And, I mean, the fact that it was trying to show you that, comic books aren't for children per se.
Yeah.
Comic books can have mature storylines, or comic books can have an actual, appreciable story.
The 90s started that whole little bit more mature type of cartoons. Then you had Adult Swim and all that, obviously, followed up. Yeah, I never watched the cartoon, but I do like the X-Men. So I'm sure if I did, I would enjoy it.
It helped pave the way, I think, for what Marvel wanted to do starting there. I mean, eventually you got the X-Men movies, the Avengers movies, and it just, it gets that key demographic now, the 18 to 34, and got them hooked early.
I would argue that series is probably what made X-Men the big league, super team. Because you already had Justice League and Avengers and stuff like that, but everybody knew the X-Men.
Yeah,
because that's
true.
Solid.
All right. Well, so we go from superheroes to Super Dog. Not Super Dog the cartoon. No. My number 6 is the 1969 version of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Yes.
I was almost thinking you were going to say Underdog there.
No.
I thought you were leading up to Underdog.
I like Underdog.
Which was going to be, some mad props on that.
He might get an honorable mention.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, I mean, I think I've watched every episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And I'm really being exclusive to that original series through the 70s. I bet I've seen every episode at least 5 times. I love it. I would still watch a day. Matter of fact, I do have all of the episodes of Scooby-Doo on my computer. So I don't watch them, but it's good to know they're close by.
Okay.
I think they held up really well. I think that you could still sit down a kid and have them watch that show, and they would enjoy it.
Yeah.
You obviously have a real love for Hanna-Barbera, and they did some really good stuff back then. I mean, their stuff really holds up on that. So, think it's a good job on that
Yeah,
one.
and I think, didn't Casey Kasem just recently passed away?
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Unfortunately, so not to be morbid, but yeah.
Voice of Shaggy.
Voice of
and
Shaggy.
everybody else in that era.
Yeah, that's a Hanna-Barbera also, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 5.
My number 5 actually comes from 1959. I think this is actually a major college kids love watching this show. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. And all the little all the little series that came with that. But mainly Rocky and Bullwinkle. What was that? The fractured? I can't remember what that was called. The fractured tails. That's what it was. They would have the little different things. You look like you never have no idea what I'm talking about.
Sounds funny.
Right. Yeah, I love the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So I won't take up any more of your time.
All right, for my number 5, it's another one that was on Mike's list, much lower than I thought it should have been, and that's definitely the Animaniacs. And it just goes to show that the era that we grew up in liking these kind of shows. Once again, it is a show that beat out things like Tiny Toon Adventures and stuff that kind of went on that. I think Animaniacs did it better, and because they weren't trying to follow up on Bugs Bunny and stuff, trying to be like them and be themselves. They were out there. It was fun. My brothers and sister loved watching it. We'd sit around. We'd have so much fun watching it. So it's kind of like it's back to with you and the Jetsons and your mom. It was just it's up there because of how much fun we had watching as a kid, and it really. It was just the humor that you've already mentioned was, it had the layers to it, So since we've already discussed it once, we'll just move on to the next one.
My number 5. We're in the big dogs now. Pretty much all of these cartoons kind of didn't shape who I am, but they're what I consider essential for what I became. And my number 5 is Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated series on the Cartoon Network, the later one.
Waiting to hear that.
The later, not the earlier one. That
but
was
the Genndy Tartakovsky, which was phenomenal itself. But this Star Wars, it excludes Ewoks, droids, the original Clone Wars series. But it was just, amazing story, great characters. Quite possibly, I think it's and you might be shocked to hear this, my favorite bit of Star Wars media.
Oh, okay. That doesn't surprise me. I think that's the case for a lot of people.
Over Empire Strikes Back, which I think hands down is one of the best movies ever made.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't finished season 6 yet, but I will because I keep being told I need to.
Which is the best season I think they made.
Wow. Okay, so I really got to finish it then.
Mm-hmm.
But from where it's going, I feel we're going to get a good conclusion, maybe even a good lead into the new Rebels show.
I hope so.
So, there you go.
Number 4.
My number 4 is it's in the top 4, so it's one of the greatest animated series of all time. But it's the 1992 Batman, the animated series. A shift in cartoons. I'm 11 years old. Mm-hmm. They use the instrumental version of the Batman theme. It's in pretty much just black and shadows for the opening scene, where Batman's just running, kicking, doing Batman things. The tone of the cartoon was just darker. It kind of was like I'm growing up, cartoons are growing up. Here's some things I found while researching. All of the backgrounds in the show were drawn or painted on black paper instead of white paper.
Okay.
Which really helped that dark tone.
Yeah.
In style, they would use that style with Batman until Brave and the Bold, where they just, I think, cheapened the character.
I think it's interesting you mentioned that you were 11 when it came out. That's, when you start hitting that 10-year-old age, you get away from the silly kind of cartoons, you get more into something serious.
Yeah.
And that's what that was for you.
Yep. And it also changed, I think, revolutionized storytelling in American cartoons.
Right.
Because it took a character that was kind of a joke, like Mr. Freeze from the old 60s. It was just some joke guy.
Yeah.
And it turned him into one of these tragic anti-heroes. He's doing everything he's doing for love, to save his own wife,
Misguided as it is.
Yeah. And then, a few times I hate to use the word, but he teams up with Batman. He joins the forces of good because he realizes that it's the better thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That episode in question even won a Daytime Emmy Award.
Really?
Yeah.
I know it was a hugely popular series, and I did watch it some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, now interesting. You were 11 years old for that. So this 1983 cartoon for me, I was 11 years old. So this was my transition cartoon.
I was not 11 then.
Right. Is actually the 1983 He-Man and Masters of the Universe.
He-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I had all the action figures, and those were extremely hard to find.
Yes, they were.
But then to actually get to see them in the cartoon, because they didn't put everybody in, but they would make the action figure of it.
Yeah.
So, as soon as they put something, where are we going to go? There used to be a store company called Best Products in our area, and I remember we would run to there. I'd make my parents drive me for school and go get the figure. But, yeah. He-Man Master Universe. I mean, everybody knows that. We all know the characters. It was corny, it was cheesy, but man, it was good.
And it led to one of the cheesiest movies of all time.
It did.
With Dolph Lundgren.
Yes, unfortunately. So that is my number 4.
Well, I put a rare one into here for this one. It's because of the claymation and stuff that went in and made it animated. It's Robot Chicken. I think Robot Chicken is absolutely hilarious. I love the use of toys. I love the humor, and it's real short, and it's real, the pace is really nice because it's only, like 15-minute episodes or something like that. Not everything is great, not everything is laugh out loud funny, but there's just so much going on, and it just, and even then they still kind of with the running gags, something that you watched in season 1 and season 4, they kind of allude to that again. It's the same principle, and I think it's just absolutely hilarious and a great use of that medium to do that. So that's because of its uniqueness, it really put it up on my list as being just a great show.
It was on my short list.
I was just watching a couple random episodes last night from some season, and I just think it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
I think my favorite bit in that series is where Skeletor, Cobra Commander, and everyone are in traffic trying to get to work, and they get there and they start to go into the parking lot, and then here comes He-Man, boom, steals the parking space.
Well,
and Lino and all them get out.
And it's just a bunch it's like a bunch of one-liners, it's like changing the remote, which is what it's about,
right.
And I like that concept. It's a good one.
And I think Seth Green and that whole production company, they've really put a lot of hard work into that. Mm-hmm. So much so that even George Lucas went to them at one point to do a series for them.
Yep.
Granted, they got bought out by the mouse, so that series got canceled. But even Nintendo for their E3 presentation this year.
Please don't cancel us, mouse.
Please don't. Yes. Even Nintendo used the Robot Chicken and had them create segues for their E3 presence, and it was amazing. You had the president of Nintendo fighting with Mario, fighting off scores of villains.
That's a great pick. Yeah, I like that. That's just outside of my top 10.
Number 3.
Well, my number 3 actually is South Park, and it's probably one of the lower production value. It's probably the lowest production value on my list. But basically everything that I say about this is the reason Family Guy didn't make the list. Okay? Because it's been on for like 17 years. I mean, and they just keep making stuff that's funny. They keep caring about it. They keep, once again, it's not everything's going to be absolutely hilarious. Some things are just going to be like, what? Some things will piss you off. And the better, they don't care.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They've developed like a cult following of people that have adopted their mindset. I mean, they've changed the way so many people think about things that I think that to have it any lower on the list would have just been kind of an insult to what they've done. Especially for people that just made it as a joke and it got passed around on a VHS and they didn't even know about it until somebody wanted to hire them to actually make more of it because it was so funny. And I just think they touch on. No, nothing's off limits. Their stuff's they're not off limits.
Right.
I just think that when you go with that kind of mindset, that they're going to have just great product. And to go 17 years on a show and still keep making quality product.
Yeah. One of my things I think is amazing about South Park and other series like on Adult Swim and whatnot is how the content you can put in a cartoon and get away with, you can't do with real actors.
Right.
You would. They wouldn't allow it. The FCC, and I know a lot of these cartoons fight the FCC a lot.
Yes.
If you watch the that South Park documentary, like the
7 days to air.
Yeah. They have like a lady that's her job,
Yeah.
and she's on the phone the whole 7 days trying to get certain jokes approved. And
I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's you're right. It is remarkable that what they can get away with.
I think South Park's hilarious. I do think it's funny, but man, I really do struggle with the animation of it. It really bugs me.
I hate poor animation. So there's so many things on my list that got
But that's
just completely
their thing.
knocked off. But that's part of their shtick.
I know, but it bothers me too much to put it in my top 10. But I do think it's a funny cartoon.
I think when they switched from the hand-drawn to the computer-generated system, it really helped.
Yeah.
Really cleaned things up. It really made things a lot more enjoyable visually.
Yeah. Okay.
So my number 3 is, you could argue, is one of the greatest cartoons of all time. Anyone could. It's Transformers, the 1996 Beast Wars. It edges out the original Transformers primarily for a few reasons. It felt like an evolution of the series. You know, I'm talking full evolution. We're going from vehicles instead of vehicles. We're transforming into animals. Had incredibly serious storylines. You know, you're dealing with the death of major characters.
Yeah.
You know, people you've loved. Honestly, I also felt it started the rise of the professional voice actor. You really started getting, because when you started, you know, in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, these voice actors were just anybody working in the studio that, you know, hey, he sounds kind of like him.
I'd argue that point, but
Okay.
That's fine. It's just a lot of the actors they used, you know, he had.
I think you got more notoriety.
Yeah.
Is really what you get more notoriety now as a voice actor than you probably did before.
The Scott McNeil, he voiced Rat Trap, Dinobot, Waspinator. Waspinator is my second favorite Transformer of all time.
I have no idea who that is.
It's another show that, like you mentioned in the South Park,
Yeah.
I think that the animation sometimes made it hard because they went for this really new CGI style and it looked real glossy and really just kind of fake to me, and that hurt the series for me personally.
I can tell you as a teenager, and just outside my list is the original Transformers.
Yeah.
It was on my short list of making my top 10, but not seen this one at all. Okay.
Yep. Oh, the other reason why I really liked it was it didn't feel like a toy.
Oh yeah,
A toy vehicle, you know, a vehicle to sell toys.
Yeah, that's
it felt
definitely
more like Hasbro just wanted to tell a story.
Gotcha.
I got to give it respect for that.
They did.
All right. My number 3 is one that is still airing today and has been on for 20 plus years. Everybody knows what it is now.
Yep.
The Simpsons. Yep.
I really figured it'd be higher on your list.
Did you really?
If it had got to higher, I was going to guess number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably that's got to be the most popular, most watched, most famous cartoon series of all time. I would think it is.
Yeah.
But that originally, I watched The Simpsons back when it was part of the Tracy Ullman show.
Tracy Ullman, yeah.
Ullman, yeah. Yeah, I watched it from them, which they were really bad. But, not much more. Everybody knows about The Simpsons, so not much more to say about it, I guess.
Number 2.
Yeah, The Simpsons was my number 3. My number 2 stayed in the same network, well, sort of, because it was on Cartoon Network too.
Yeah.
You just said it, is Family Guy. You know, and then just doing the Star Wars bits that they've done, although the third one wasn't.
But those
Hey, they're phoning it in.
Yeah,
he even admits it.
Yeah, you know, well, the series is probably getting a little tired. Well, it is tired.
Yeah.
But I still, you know, you take the whole thing as a whole, I love Family Guy.
Those first 3 seasons were amazing, but I just felt that, you know, unlike South Park, they just let it go. Like, they were just phoning it in and then not, you know, really trying for whatever reasons. I mean, when you have a vehicle like that, you know, I don't know what happened. You know, I'm sure people have broken it down exactly what happened. But I just know those first 3 seasons that were on and off again canceled were just the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And then
Well, they were
beyond
trying
that,
harder, probably.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it just feels phoned in to me. But
Yeah, they were trying harder, no doubt, early on because they were trying to stay on TV. Then when they got really big, they didn't probably have. But I like it. I've liked Family Guy. I even still watch it today. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay.
so is it me for number
Yep.
2?
Yeah, number 2.
All right, my number 2 is actually the most classic series that I have on my list, and that's Looney Tunes. I mean, from the 60s all through, I mean, to be on a list like this, that show is timeless. You know, the animation was really well done for as far back as it was. I mean, all the bits were really short and stuff like that, so that helped, and it was all, you know, serialized and so on and so forth. But it's so timeless. I think that you can, like Scooby-Doo, you could sit a kid down today, and they would sit there and watch it and enjoy it, and they wouldn't be like, oh, this is drawn like crap. They're funny. You know, they you know, the characters are iconic. I mean, you can't go anywhere without people knowing these characters, even little kids. And I think for to have a list like that, that's some major criteria.
You get back into the 40s and 50s on those, and they are actually drawn better than today's cartoons because they put costs were cheaper back then. They did more frames per second or more panels per second on the cartoons from the 50s.
That was what bothered me in the 90s. A lot of them really cheapened up like the animation levels. And that's why a lot of those shows didn't make it because
Cartoon Network is known for that.
Yeah, they had. I mean, people love these shows, but the production value. I mean, they didn't look good enough for me to watch.
Yep.
So I just had to pass on them.
Yep, good choice.
So my number 2 will be the biggest shocker on this entire list for me. If anyone knows me, they'll know I am a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. And yeah, the 1987 original series, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
I texted, the show premieres, I'm 6 years old.
Yeah.
It's like the coolest thing ever. You got mutants, check. Ninjas, check. Turtles, and and then one of them wears orange and his name is Mikey.
Yeah.
I am sold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was the perfect mix of story, action, humor, romance. I'm talking about Irma and Baxter here.
Okay.
And I think being in that formative age, it also taught you, value of friendship and teamwork. And these guys couldn't get it done on their own, but together they were an unstoppable force.
Now, unlike yours, which was the later series you're talking about,
The original cheesy
yeah.
with the 80s, theme.
and that's the one I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm more familiar with it.
Yep.
Before we get to number 1, let's recap. And finally, number 1.
Before we get to our number 1s, I'd like to give a couple of honorable mentions here. First honorable mention, and yes, I'm cheating with 2 honorable mentions, but I made the rules, so whatever.
Okay.
That's my list.
My first honorable mention is Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Mid 90s, I'm
Yeah.
12, 13 years old, and it's one of those things that teaches you that cartoons don't necessarily have to be for kids.
Correct.
The first episode, they play baseball with a frog. they love fire. They're watching music videos. It alone got me loving Gwar. Granted, should I have been watching this at 12?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that, parents groups had a right to be angry about it, but they also had a right to, pay attention to what your kid's doing. Don't plop them in front of a cartoon.
Right.
The thing about cartoons it's for everyone. But engage with your children and know what they're watching.
Right.
Okay, it's off my soapbox.
Now, I want to guess your number 1.
Well, my other honorable mention is Voltron because
also, yeah.
because it, it's anime.
Are we talking the original,
The original,
The original Voltron.
and more so now the Japanese subtitle version with the original story. Much better story.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 1. Go ahead.
All right.
I want you guys to give a guess.
Now, it's going to be hard for me to guess your number 1 because I just don't know what you've watched a lot. But I'm going to guess your number 1. I know you like this franchise, and I'm hoping it's your number 1. But I'm going to guess G.I. Joe.
Okay. It's an interesting guess.
That's my guess.
I think he's had a lot of 80s stuff in there. I really think that it's going to be The Simpsons. I think that just at the top of his list is going to be that long-running show. I think that he's going to go with that. I mean, it's an easy call.
Now, if it is, but if Simpsons number 1 and we got the mask for your number 2, does that mean you're going to ride a skateboard around? No. Okay.
No. All right. My number 1. It essentially excluded every single thing from Disney, single-handedly.
Okay.
I texted my sister, and I asked her, if you had one guess, what would my favorite cartoon of all time be? And she nailed it right on the head. My number 1 starts out, life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg.
Wow.
Race cars, lasers, airplanes. It's a duck
DuckTales.
blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales.
Yep. Ooh.
I mean,
Apparently we don't know Mike for shit.
the Disney shows, we're talking, Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, freaking Gummy Bears, and Gargoyles.
Yeah.
Had I not self-eliminated those, that would have been,
That would have just been a list.
it would have been a list. So Disney owns and creates some of the best properties in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they purchased Marvel and Star Wars, that statement's 100% true.
Yeah.
But growing up,
Please don't cancel us, Mouse.
please don't. I love you, Disney.
Right. Hopefully this video makes it to YouTube.
Hopefully. Please, don't kill me.
Yeah, I like DuckTales.
Yeah.
I did watch it. Who didn't watch some?
He's right. The spin-offs were great.
Yeah?
Yeah, they were.
Well, not all of them.
Well, but I mean, like they
Count Duckula.
But Count Ducky wasn't a spin-off of that.
Yeah, it was.
That was a spin-off of That was a spin-off of Danger Mouse.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
Oh, well, there you go. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
you were wrong.
Good choice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, DuckTales. Woo!
So I'll do my honorable mention, and you guys can take a
Okay.
guess. My honorable mention, which made Patrick's list, I forget where. It was high, 3, I think, is the Looney Tunes or Merry Melodies.
Yep.
You know,
They
'cause
kind of get lumped together.
They do.
They are two different things as far as production companies, sort of, but
yeah.
they shared characters and
They
stuff.
did.
Yeah.
My favorite, the Merry Melodies is actually, I believe, I could be wrong on this, actually comes from the shorts they would do in front of movies, like Droopy
Yep.
McCool, they would do shorts in movies back in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
And Droopy's my favorite character from the Looney Tunes Merry Melodies stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead, take a guess on my,
Hold on, let's
Number
confer
one.
for a moment.
yeah,
I
they're
think,
going to nail this.
let me guess. Star Wars. The Clone Wars?
Okay.
I'm going to go with the other Star Wars, the Clone Wars.
Okay.
The Genndy, Tarkovsky, the
Well,
original.
the cartoon series is called Star Wars Clone Wars.
Oh, Clone Wars.
Right, and then the animated digital one was Star Wars The Clone Wars. The word "the" is the one
Yeah.
that is different.
Okay.
So, yeah, my number 1 is Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, and the series got better and better. We already talked about it. It got better and better and better as we went along, all the way up to the climax, which is season 6. Loved it. Fantastic. I will watch that again probably over and over for many years to come. So there you go.
It's just an amazing series.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm looking forward to Rebels. When Rebels comes out, we could probably redo this list.
Yeah.
All right, so for my honorable
Oh, go ahead.
For my honorable mentions, I'm going to go with those 80s cartoons that we kept mentioning. The Generation 1 Transformers, Thundercats, Voltron, He-Man. They were, a lot of them were so driven to sell toys. I mean, that's what they're designed for. The plots were a lot of times regurgitated. The production wasn't always there. Sometimes they're just absolutely painful to watch, to try and rewatch. I'm looking at you, He-Man. And sorry,
That was
Shawn.
on my top 10.
I know, but like He-Man and Voltron, they were just horrible to try and rewatch. Thundercats and Transformers not so much, but still, I mean, the legacy that they have, makes them mentionable. Because people still know about them, they still deal stuff with them and stuff like that. So, I mean, but they're not. You can't go back and rewatch them.
Right.
So you're number 1.
I'll guess first. You
Go
know
ahead.
him. These two are longtime friends. I'm going to say, you haven't said Transformers, right?
We just honorably mentioned them.
Oh, was that part of your, I thought you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
just.
the Generation 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Generation 1. Okay.
You know what? I'm just going to say Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I'll say that for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to say SWAT Cats.
But I think it could be, you haven't said The Simpsons.
Nope, I haven't.
So I'm going to change that. I'm going to say Simpsons.
I'll say SWAT Cats.
Well, SWAT Cats got beat out as part of that 90s action pack with the gargoyles and
Okay.
stuff. And part of my list was designed on shows that I actually watched, and The Simpsons were not one of them. I'd never really watched The Simpsons. I've seen some episodes and stuff like that, but it was never a show that I thought was, all that great. So it didn't, it wasn't even in my consideration. But for me, it's definitely Batman, the animated series.
Why did I even... Oh.
For me, I'm a huge Batman fan, and it was at a time when they were trying to kiddify Batman in the movies.
Yeah.
And they went back with this darker, at-home series of dealing with his struggles of his loss of his parents and the effects that it had. I mean, the artistry style and stuff was was iconic. I mean, it even has its own name. It's called Dark Deco. is what they refer to it as, and it's just one of the all-time series for me. Is so I've bookended my list with two things of source material that I really love, and I think that once again. The great thing about the animated series is the rogues gallery that they brought into it. You got to see so many villains that you never would have heard of, and then it did great things like it drove toy sales because of the show, but it was designed to drive toy sales. It drove people back to the comic books, which did really great things. Plus, the animated series has the voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy.
Yes.
He is the voice. I want to get a ton of money and find a way to pay Kevin Conroy to sit down and mute Christian Bale every time he talks to Batman and have him talk in his place. Plus, along with your Star Wars, you have Mark Hamill doing the voice of the Joker. And that is probably one of the more iconic portrayals.
And my,
he does
I watched
such
a lot of
great
that
job.
series. It was just outside of my top 10.
And another thing that makes it, a top choice is that it added Harley Quinn to the mythos.
Yeah.
She wasn't in the comic book. She wasn't in any of this. She got added because of the show. Not the Harley Quinn they have now in like the video games and stuff. But Harley Quinn was added there. She was such a great addition that the fans loved her. And I mean, you can't ask for something better out of for a Batman fan than that show.
Yeah, it's a good choice. And I didn't even know you were a Batman fan.
Oh man,
so I would have never guessed that. So.
I'm sorry that I didn't guess that properly. I forgot I hadn't heard it. So ultimately, what did we have in common? We had Batman and
We didn't have
Animaniacs and Archer. So we had 3.
Yeah.
All right.
And at least one version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, so 3.5.
And you guys had
But
Clone Wars?
we didn't have. None of us. The 3 of us didn't have one single of the same.
Yeah.
But there's been how many hundreds of thousands of cartoons.
Right, like I said, for us, it was such a broad topic that when you have that many versions of animation, if you had slimmed it down, we probably had a lot closer list, because of our likes and stuff like that. But when you have such a broad generalization of stuff, it's going to be like that.
That was fun. All right.
So look forward to our future top 10s, including our top 10 Firefly episodes.
That got canceled.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, we had to cancel
Yeah,
it.
Fox told us not to do that.
oh,
Yeah. All right. See you guys.
Thanks.